Hey everyone, this is going to be a quick, relatively short video about the Cummins N-14. There's a fair amount of misinformation about the Cummins N-14 out there. Just wanted to go through a few of the differences. There's actually two different types. Probably the most common thing we hear when a customer is calling about a remanufactured engine is they want a Cummins N-14 red top. Well, the red top is not really a thing. Yeah, there's N-14s with red valve covers, but there's two different N-14s as far as the electronic engine, and the electronic engine is going to cover from 1994 to 2003. So you've either got the Select, which was the first version, or you've got the Select Plus. Both engines were available with a red valve cover. Both came with red, both came with black. It just depended on how it was ordered, how it was set up. By and large, the red valve covers you're going to see on higher horsepower. You can see black on high horsepower. I have not personally ever seen anything in quick serve that had lower horsepower that had a red though. So I can't give you a horsepower range where one was more prevalent or where only one existed, because there is some crossover there. So it's just a matter of how it was ordered. But so I've got two of them here in the warehouse. These are all our cores. What I've got here side by side is I've got a Select and a Select Plus. Now, one of them here has got the ECM on it, all the wiring. It's pretty much complete. Back up here, this is missing the ECM. It is missing some of the wiring. Some of it's still there. But the easiest, the quickest, the number one guaranteed way to tell whether you have a Select or a Select Plus is right above the ECM, that data port. That data port is only found on the Select Plus. The Select did not have that. Now you can look at some other things, but that's where you can run into causing yourself some misinformation. There's a metal tag on here that says Select Plus. That metal tag can fall off, and if you look right there on the housing, it says Select. Also, that's just the housing of the ECM. That's something that can be changed. The ECMs themselves are different. They look identical, but the plugs, you cannot hook up a Select wire harness to a Select Plus ECM or vice versa. So there are some differences, but you basically got two engines, Select and Select Plus. They're both going to have the same block. They're both going to have the same crank. There are several different cams. It depends on your CPL, depends on your static timing, which obviously correlates to a CPL. The vast majority of your differences are going to be external. So as far as the N-14s themselves, they are capable of 525 horse. There is plenty of companies out there that will guarantee you they can get a lot more than that. We will not go above 525 at Diesel Rehab. The reason being that the N-14 does not have a lower end capable of handling higher horsepower. So as far as horsepower, there's basically four things that are going to dictate what you can have for horsepower. So there was two different piston options. The lower horsepowered N-14s would typically come with a one-piece aluminum piston, and somewhere around 400 to 410 horse is going to be the limit to that. If you go any higher, you will burn a hole in that piston. So in order to have higher horsepower, go up to the 5 1/4, you do need to have a two-piece piston. It's a steel piston with an aluminum skirt. Like I said already, your blocks are the same, rods are the same, cranks are the same. It's just the piston itself. The second thing you need is you need an injector that's big enough to flow enough fuel. There are a couple of different injectors that are capable of going to the max horsepower. It just depends again on your CPL. You also need a turbo that is big enough. There's, I believe, 3 or 4 different turbos with the N-14. Don't hold me to that because we don't build any to 370 or 400 horse just because we don't have customers requesting that. So I'm not 100% sure on the sheer amount of turbos available. There is one turbo that is used on the higher horsepowers. And then last, you have to have the 525 horse program in your ECM, and that's just calibrating your ECM, change your CPL possibly depending on what you have. That's what it takes to dictate your horsepower or what you can produce. As far as the differences in engines, like I said, it's mainly on the outside. So there's a couple of different thermostat housings. Again, on this Select, the first ones that were out, they had a single thermostat. And so there you can see the thermostat housing. And as far as your upper radiator pipe, where it's going to hook up here, there was a few different options as far as where this would discharge: straight up, angled across, straight out the front, whatever. But the housing itself was the same. There are 2 different versions of the dual thermostat housing. I'll come around here to the other side of this one and show you. This is actually an earlier model. So the earlier ones, it was actually a 2-piece housing. You can see you got your inner block here, and then this is your outer housing. And again, with the outer housing, there were 3, 4, possibly 5 different variations as far as where it would discharge, where your hose would hook up. The later thermostat housings, this was a 1-piece, and again, you had all the different variables about where the hose would hook up, and that was more a matter of what the manufacturer was that was purchasing it. There's several different intake manifolds. There again is the Select Plus. What you normally saw on the early Select models is you actually saw a 2-piece manifold. You saw this manifold along here, but this horn out the top that's bolted on here, where on the Select Plus, and there, this is obviously a totally different style, but that is all 1 piece. Got another one back here. Let's show you. So there's kind of the same thing as what's on that Select, but again, it's all 1 piece. It doesn't bolt on. So there's different intake manifolds. There's different exhaust manifolds. Give you a shot of the earlier Select models, and you can see the design of it compared to the Select Plus. The Select Plus obviously flows better. It's pretty much just straight out, where there's a few more turns with the Select. Now the mounting is different on it. There's a pin at each port, so you got 6 pins, and then 2 bolts, 1 on either side at each location. With the Select Plus, there's no pin, it's just 2 bolts at each location, and it's at a diagonal. It does put the turbo in the exact same location, so in theory they are interchangeable. You can see where the turbo hooks on at. It does put the turbo in the same location, so the only issue you would have is you would have to have a head that is, or 3 heads that are capable of either accepting either manifold, and a lot of them are, but it's just a matter of having the ability to bolt either manifold up. You know, there was a couple of different fuel pump options. This is a fuel pump with a filter base. Obviously there's your specific filter base. They did offer the exact same fuel pump without the filter. And there again, that's just up to the OEM as to what they wanted. There's several different air compressors. Doesn't change, you know, they're all going to be the same length. It doesn't change location of components. It's just the amount of CFMs that they're moving. Some of the stuff that is different is not even an engine component. For example, the AC compressor, that's not a Cummins part. That's an OEM component, and so there were several different styles of mounting for the AC. Alternator is generally down here on your hot side of your engine, down low. The only exception I'm aware of is Western Stars generally put the alternator up here where the AC was, and vice versa with the AC compressor was down where the alternator was. Again, want to try and keep this short. It's either Select or Select Plus. Red valve cover is just a red valve cover. The biggest thing with the red valve covers and why they came about is, and it's kind of hard to see in this, I'll try and get a good picture of it here, but if you look essentially on this cover, wherever a bolt is, you can see the cover is dipped down just a little bit. And what it is the black cover is a pressed steel. And so they would tend to get warped a little bit as you torque them down, or if somebody over torqued them. And that warping would then cause an oil leak past the gasket. So when they went to the red valve cover, that's an aluminum housing, and it's about 1 inch thick. And there's obviously no warping on that. And so that cured their oil leak issue. Doesn't change the performance of the engine, whether you got red covers or black covers. Obviously, I think the red covers look nicer, but they definitely seal up a lot nicer. There's plenty of other differences, and I'm sure somebody will point something out. This wasn't meant to be the final say on every little nitpicking thing that could be different about them. Just trying to hit the high points. The N-14 is by far the most common engine that we remanufacture. There is a huge demand for it yet. We do plenty of the cats as well, but the N-14 is outperforming the cats as far as our sales are concerned. I know we've got a couple in the stands right now that we're building in the shop, so we're definitely going to have some more videos coming out soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because we'll have some more stuff coming out, and leave a comment down below if there's something you'd like to have a video on, or anything else you'd like to have us cover, and we'll see you again soon.